Hi everyone. So we're going to get started. It's 11 o'clock. It's an 18-minute presentation. This is our first in the series of branding done. And today we're going to be talking about B2B branding in the main and why it is boring to boring. So a few house rules. You'll notice that you're on mute and video is off. If you want to put the video on, you can do. We'll keep everyone on mute. There will be a point where we might ask you to engage. So if you are picked out, you can then unmute and we'll have a quick discussion about something. There's going to be a prize at some point as well. So good luck with that. And if you've got any questions just as we're running through it that you want an answer to, if you drop that in the chat, we'll pick them up either at the end, but more likely in our response with the full recording after this particular webinar. Okay, so let's go. So many B2B businesses, as we're saying, are boring to boring in the way that we approach it. And we often probably think that it's a business talking to a business instead of the fact that there's people behind those businesses. So we like to look at it more on a human to human basis, that there's still a person looking for another business to hopefully probably solve a problem or have a partnership or something similar. But it's initially a human speaking to another human. Now, B2B world obviously is slightly more complex than a B2C, and there'll be more humans at each of those companies involved in that process, but we're all still people. And people have feelings, people have beliefs, and they're the things that any brand should be tapping into so that you appeal to that particular audience. We've also got problems and solutions. So any business looking to speak with another business is looking to try and solve a problem for them ultimately. So we're all in the same boat. We've all got problems. We're all looking for solutions, but we need to find the right match and a business that we can trust. And that's where feelings and beliefs start to come into play more. And they're the things that we need to tap into if we're going to be a successful B2B brand rather than the usual boring way that businesses seem to communicate to each other. And the other key thing is values. So values are massively important to any brand and any business, and they need to be celebrated way more in everything that the business does. So we're just going to ask you guys at this stage whether the business that you're representing or the business that you own, do you have any brand values yourself? So just in the chat, if you want to put yes or no. If you are going to put yes, thinking I best say yes, but we don't have any values, we are going to ask someone randomly later just to give us one of their brand values. So just a simple yes and no for now, and then we'll pick this back up again in a little bit. So while everyone's throwing a yes or a no into the chat, Amy's going to be looking out for those answers, and then she'll pick someone out later. I'm just going to talk briefly about Virgin as a brand and what I believe that's tried to achieve over the years. Obviously, it set out to be a challenger brand with the name itself being Virgin, not something that most companies would pick, but it's also celebrated a kind of essence of fun throughout everything that it does. So whether that's been the message in the toilet on the trains, or whether it's the tone of voice on the vans for Virgin Media, or whether it's a more premium offer like Virgin Atlantic, Virgin make a decision to do a walk-up bar. If you're going to spend thousands of pounds to fly to America, there's something different about the fact you could actually walk up the aisle, sit down, have a beer, chat to someone you've never met before, have a bit of fun. Whereas BA traditionally would have just had 16 more seats. And this is where one brand competes against the other one, because it's actually grabbing your attention before you even make a purchase in the first place. So it would appeal to me. I'd be a Virgin customer in that sense, because I like the idea of being able to walk up to that bar and grab a drink. And that's what makes a point of difference. But it's a brave thing to do, but it's celebrated by the values. I believe the accountant told Richard Branson just to put the extra 16 seats in. And he said, don't listen to your accountant, he says, because he doesn't understand what a brand is. And he makes those decisions based on the values of the organization. This is where values can really come into their own if you stick to them. So today, we're going to have a little session at this point where we've picked out a B2B brand that's pretty successful. You may or may not know it, but we've looked at it and thought, we feel one of the values it's trying to portray is to be friendly, approachable, supportive. There's definitely something like that type of message coming through. We've not looked at what the brand values actually are. This is just a sense of what we believe as a brand it's trying to say. And friendly is one of the things that we think come out in this brand. So before we get into the guessing game for the brand, this is the prize that we promised would be on offer. So this is a book called Zag. You may or may not know it. Hopefully you've not got it if you win it. But basically it's when everyone else is zigs, Zag. It's about being different, not just for the sake of it, but for the right reasons. And again, for me, this is where it comes back to what you actually stand for as a company. What is your purpose? What are your values? What is the direction of travel? But also, how can you be different to the competitors rather than look the same as everybody else in your sector? And it's a brave thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. So this book is all about zagging when everyone else zigs, or doing the opposite to everybody else to create standout. So before I go further into the guessing game for you to win this book, let's focus on the value of friendly that I've just mentioned. And if I said to you guys in the chat here, put a color in the chat, a color that you think represents friendly. So just pick a color, throw it in the chat. Amy's going to watch some of the answers come through.
We've got quite a few of the same color coming through. We've got some greens, pinks, yellows, purples.
Any
Orange.
right to the top from what you can see?
Yeah, I think yellow is winning at the moment.
Yellow's winning at the moment. So that's good because it doesn't ruin my next slide. Yellow is the color of the brand that we're about to guess. So again, color accounts for a lot in branding, and 90% of brands can be recognized by color alone. So it's an important thing to, one, get right in the first place, but also to make sure you manage it well. This particular brand we're going to look at, which is now the guessing game, uses yellow. So again, the friendly value for me is being celebrated just by color alone. So this is the point where you need to start guessing. If no one gets it right, we keep the book. Obviously, if someone can get it, then there's the Zag book on offer. So first come, first serve, really, in the chat. So if you can try and guess, we're going to go through a few slides. If no one's got it, we're going to be showing a short video as well. And at the end of the video, it will show the answer. So you need to be able to beat the video, basically. So yellow, predominant color in this particular brand. Then we start looking at typography. So quite a nice typeface, feels quite friendly. The tone of voice itself as well, keep pushing forward. We've got your back. It's very supportive, feels approachable, feels like a company that I might want to work with. And then you've got an illustrative style as well. So again, really nicely hand drawn. Means you've got freedom as a brand. You can basically draw and choose anything that you want. You're not trapped by rubbish stock photography that everybody else has got. This is something that's unique, handmade, and even the fact that it's got 3 thumbs says this is something good, something positive. We're going to get you in the right direction. So a lovely illustrative style that they can have complete ownership of. And again, it's on a yellow background, screams friendly, screams supportive. And for me, the value is shining through what they do here. And then this was just a snippet from the Twitter account, but basically saying, dreaming of that upcoming vacay. So again, it's talking about vacations. So we all look forward to our holidays, and they realize it's not all work, work, work. And then they're basically reaching out to their audience to say, can you send us your basic out of office and we'll send you a fun version. Now, that's a prime example of something that is very dull. Most people say exactly the same thing every time I see an out of office, and it's an opportunity for a brand to be slightly different. Again, if fun and friendly isn't your values, then that doesn't mean that you go wacky on your out of office, but you should be able to look at your values and think, how do we go about writing out of offices, and can we be a bit different? So this is an engagement with their audience. And then we're going to show this video as well, which is where all the parts of this brand successfully come together. At the end, you'll see the logo. So Amy's monitoring the chat at the moment. Let's see where we end up. if you can listen to the voice and the music as well, and feel the friendly coming across.
Ideas yet. Designing your world and building it too. Making, shaping, and shaking it. Sewing and mowing. Coding and creating it. If you're sometimes overwhelmed, could we discuss the weather by an often overwhelming world? Know that your ideas will flow again. You'll pick yourself up and go again. Who you're meant to be, you'll be. Because you're never gonna stop, and neither will we.
So we had everybody who guessed got it right. So congrats to Sal, Johnny, Lawrence, Meg, Laura, and Kadrian. The first one was Sal Calloway. So at the end, I'll grab your address and I'll send you the book out.
Well done, Sal. Nice to see people guessing it. Obviously, if you're familiar with the brand, it's instantly recognizable. If you're not, maybe it's not targeted you as yet. But the one thing that MailChimp has done over the years, and their brand's evolved. I remember it being more of a colourful character and a blue hat, and it's modernized itself for the world that we live in. But it definitely is celebrating something to do with being friendly and supportive. Like I say, we didn't look into the values. We didn't feel that we needed to. It was more the fact that everything that they're displaying suggests that. And if their target audience is small to medium-sized businesses, then a lot of small businesses that are starting out are looking for something that isn't too scary. They're looking for something that is friendly and approachable, feels like it's supportive. And the MailChimp brand, for me, delivers that really well in all its visual identity. But then it takes it further, again, on social. This is obviously a visual of how their brand looks. And again, you can look across it and think, well, even like the top left social post or the calendar are nicely displayed, vibrant. They feel more friendly. The visual style at the bottom row, where it's got this kind of paper artwork that's been produced, again, still feeling really friendly. But they also go out the way then to regularly to promote small businesses that are being successful. So they use their social as a platform to promote their actual audience as well, which really works for them with small to medium-sized businesses, because again, another business will be looking at it thinking, well, MailChimp seems to be supporting these success stories. They're also promoting these success stories to a wider audience than that small business can probably achieve. So why would I not engage with MailChimp and potentially use some of their software to help grow my business? So this was our example. Like I say, it was a bit of a guessing game. Sal's ran away with the book. It's a good book, so if you want to buy it yourself, feel free to do so. But MailChimp for us, it's a B2B brand that is ultimately trying to make a difference and break the norm. There's a lot more B2B brands doing it, but there are a hell of a lot still stuck in a very dated, boring world. And it's where B2B brands need to break free now and move forward. So, Amy, going back to the first engagement where we asked everyone to give us a yes or a no as to whether they have values, can you pick someone out who hopefully be willing to unmute and share a value?
Well, I'm interested as to what Will will say, because he says yes, but not firm as yet. So, Will, would you be able to unmute yourself and tell us one of the values of your business, or the business you work for? I can, if I come down here, I can ask to unmute, I think. Will Stone asked to unmute. Up to you if you want to. Oh, he's on the phone. Anybody else? So maybe Miss Davis, you were the first person to say yes. Requested to unmute. So Miss Davis says, warrior spirit, strive to be the best, display a sense of urgency and never give up. But unfortunately, she can't talk where she is.
Okay, fine. Well, the idea was to just get a sense of someone's values. First of all, was to make sure people know what the values are, which is a great starting point. So many companies might have values, but they end up sitting on a server or in a frame somewhere, and they're not celebrated on a regular basis. And for me, values are about being front and center every minute of every day. And it needs to come from the top. Leaders need to make sure that they're delivering on them. Managers, directors need to, teams need to see it happening. People need to hear conversations going on in meeting rooms and business decisions being made to say, no, we're not doing that because it goes against what we stand for. And that's through all the business, not just the visual identity, which is what people see a brand sometimes as a logo and colors. Visual identity is a massive part of it, but a brand is everything that a company does, and the values need to be celebrated in all areas. So going back to friendly again, this is just a quick example of a way to bring in a value that is completely for a brand, because a brand is everything that you do, but away from visual identity. So an example I use, which I made up, was basically, if you have a reception, you'd like to think you put someone on who is friendly and approachable and can talk to people. But what if they go on holiday or they're ill? You probably pick someone else, hopefully, that can chat to people. But to make things a bit more consistent, you could give them free rein to chat openly, but you could also say, look, make sure you ask 3 questions, and they are, where have you come from? What was your journey like? And what drink do you want? Those 3 questions should be asked every time. And you go, right, great, we've got a measure in place. 3 months later, you might think, well, actually, if we can capture the answers to those questions, we can elevate the overall feeling, and we can have a trigger. So if the same person comes into reception 3 months later, there's a trigger to say they've been before, and you've got the answers. So this time you'd say, did you come from Manchester again? At least it's not raining like last time. Do you want a coffee with milk? So suddenly that value of being friendly is guaranteed to be celebrated, but the person feels special because you've been remembered from the last time you came 3 months ago. It's a little measure that could be put in place, could be put in really quickly as well. So final thing, with seconds to go, what could you change in 18 minutes? That's our challenge to you over this afternoon or on Monday. What is it you could look at within your business, look at your values and say, are we truly celebrating them throughout everything that we do? And it could be an out of office, like MailChimp suggested. They say they're historically very boring. What can we do to actually celebrate our values within that space? Automated emails, again, a thing that people just forget about. The software spits out some content. We don't often look at them to say, should they be written in a different way? Are there automated emails in your business, what you could change and freshen up? Or is it something simple like a social post? This could be both visual and the text above the post. But how do we look at celebrating our values in everything that we do? So this is how we make B2B brands less boring. They need to really get under the skin of their own values and celebrate them in a human way rather than thinking that we're a business to business. I think that's our 18 minutes up on the dot. So ultimately, it's about being different for the right reasons. That's branding done. First one of our series. The next one is on the 9th of September, 11 o'clock on a Friday, and it's going to focus specifically on motion. So hopefully we'll see some of you there. Thanks for your time.